of Samuel. Is it Samuel or Sam? Samuel. Samuel George.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And
Honorable, you have 10 minutes.
No, I'm as a ranking member.
10 minutes.
Ranking.
Honorable, I didn't. 15 minutes. 10 minutes, Honorable. 15.
Mr. Speaker, let me, even if I'm given 5 minutes, I'm sure I'll be able to do justice to our friends on the other side, led by His Excellency the President, who have given the truth and facts a haircut. Mr. Speaker, it appears that the government led by President Akufo Addo has engaged in a debt exchange program with the truth and have decided to peddle untruths to this House. President Akufo Addo, in his statements to this House, said that, indeed, and I quote, freedom of speech has now reached such heights that even members of the diplomatic corps feel able to join in our national discourse. Mr. Speaker, President Akufo Addo has forgotten that he summoned the diplomatic community to Peduasi on Tuesday, January 28, 2020, and issued them with a stern warning to stop commenting on national issues in our country. That is the record of President Akufo Addo. Yet today he turns around and says that there is freedom of speech. An intolerant person who is unhappy about dissent. You are begging the German government to help you beg China to forgive debt. And when the German ambassador tells you that your government is suffering from elephantiasis, you say that your party symbol is an elephant, so he should leave you alone. And you are complaining about that. Mr. Speaker, you have the defense minister stand in this chamber. This is a house of records, and claim that no government has ever provided accommodation for the military. Mr. Speaker, this house has approved loan agreements for military housing for our services under President Mahama. Mr. Speaker, the naval headquarters, the Minister for Defense, he is the minister who oversees the Navy of our country. The Ghana Naval Headquarters in Bema Camp was commissioned on the 11th of August 2016 by President Mahama. That the minister doesn't know. Mr. Speaker, on the 19th of October 2012, President Mahama commissioned hangars, simulators, and aircraft for the military. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama commissioned security housing in Tema, 136 two-bedroom units and 32 three-bedroom flats. If those are not housing for the military, I don't know what the defense minister is talking about. Mr. Speaker, in Labadi Villas in Bema Camp, which is the heart of our military installation, President Mahama commissioned housing units for officers of the Ghana Armed Forces. In Boteman, the affordable housing projects that were abandoned by President Kufuor, when President Mahama took over, 6 of those units, and I'm happy the former housing minister is here. Honorable Atachia, 6 of those 48 unit blocks were handed over to the Ghana Armed Forces and completed by the President Mahama administration. We have men of our armed forces in Boteman, in the housing units. He would attest to it. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama bought Casa passenger aircraft for our military to replace the outaged F-27 jets. He bought 4 new MH-17 helicopters for the Air Force. We bought attack helicopters also from the Russians. We bought attack planes, fighter jets from the Chinese. And you stand up and say that President Mahama did nothing for you. You have engaged, after chewing ballot papers in this chamber, you stand up and tell us that President Mahama did not do anything.
Honorable Sam George, kindly withdraw that statement.
Mr. Speaker, did the honorable member not chew ballot papers on the 9th of the 6th and 7th when we chose you as second deputy speaker?
Honorable member, please withdraw that statement.
Mr. Speaker, what are you asking me to withdraw? That Honorable Carlos Ahinka, on the 9th of January 6th and 7th, chewed ballot papers and ran away like a thief being chased by the police in this chamber. Are you asking me to withdraw that truth? Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member, sit down.
Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of focusing on the substance, I oblige you Everybody knows that Carlos did it, but you say I should withdraw, I withdraw. Mr. Speaker, you see, when I said the president has engaged the debt exchange program with the truth, the president stood in this chamber, these hallowed chambers of parliament, looked Ghanaians in the face and said that his government has constructed more fiber optic cable than any government in this Fourth Republic. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing further away from the truth. Anybody admitting that it will be tantamount to admitting that our president carries an Afro punk on his head. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible. Because I will give you the breakdown of our fiber optic holding in this country. And Mr. Speaker, look, when it comes to the Eastern Corridor fiber, which currently is the longest fiber chain in our country, yesterday the Minister for Communications tried to play hanky-panky with the facts. That project was a Danida-sponsored project under President Mahama. It was cut for it by the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu. And I have in my hands the report dated 27 September 2012, where Honorable Haruna Idrisu, as Minister for Communication at the time, with President Mahama having taken over after the demise of Professor Mills, was the minister who cut short for the Eastern Corridor fiber. 800 kilometers of fiber, starting from Ho, running through communities like Jasikan, Bushegu, Boku, Yendi. 122 communities along the Eastern Corridor connected. Government of Ghana project. Under this ministry, under this current government, they did an extension from Ho to Accra, 165 kilometers. It is only under this government that 165 kilometers is greater than 800 kilometers. That is why our economy is in reverse gear, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, I hold in my hands evidence of President Mahama cutting short for the commissioning of the project in Ho. This was done on Monday, 18th May, 2015.
6 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, listen, Mr. Speaker, if we want to talk about the holdings of fiber in our country, let us state for the facts what the fiber in our country is. We have what we call the metro fiber. Mr. Speaker, we have the Bema Camp campus, 40 kilometers of fiber, commissioned in 2016. Is that President Akufo Addo? No. Kolebu campus, 35 kilometers, commissioned in 2016. Is that President Akufo Addo? No. Accra Metro, 500 kilometers of fiber, commissioned in 2016. Is that President Akufo Addo? No. Tamale Metro, 51 kilometers of fiber, commissioned by President Akufo Addo? No. Home Metro, 30 kilometers, commissioned by President Akufo Addo? No. So which fiber has President Akufo Addo commissioned? Mr. Speaker, let me even give you further evidence from the National Communications Authority that since 2017, only 5 entities have been given fiber spectrum licenses in this country. Only 5 since 2017. The first one is Comsys. And at the time Comsys was given their fiber license, they already had fiber infrastructure built under the NDC. And Mr. Speaker, in all I have said, I have spoken about government infrastructure, what is owned by government. I have not spoken about private sector. I will come to that if time permits me. But Comsys already, which is private sector, had fiber built and commissioned in 2016 and only got their license in 2017. So you cannot say that that fiber belongs to this administration. The second was Spectrum Fiber. Spectrum Fiber was granted license in 2017, a Spectrum license. Spectrum Fiber is the only one that you can suggest has started a fiber project under this government. And Mr. Speaker, we are truthful, we tell the truth. The Western Corridor Fiber. But again, the Western Corridor Fiber is a PPP arrangement started under Edward Omanimboama as Minister for Communication in 2015. It is a World Bank funded project. In fact, the funding for that project, even today, is partly funded by the GIF, Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, again, started by John Mahama. That is funding that project that is doing the Western Corridor under this government. So how then do you say this government has done more? Mr. Speaker, Gridco is the third company that has been given fiber license since 2017. Gridco has over 3,600 kilometers of fiber. That aerial fiber was strung and in place under the NDC administration when I served on the board of the National IT Agency between 2013 and 2016. Mr. Speaker, we had a partnership agreement with Gridco already to be carrying aerial fiber. So how then can President Akufo Addo come and stand here and tell the world that Greco Fiber came up under his stem. Mr. Speaker, that's a debt exchange program with the truth. Mr. Speaker, the fourth entity is Vobis. Vobis is another entity that already had infrastructure. So how then will he come here and say that he owns it? Mr. Speaker, the fifth one is Group Vivendi Africa. Group Vivendi Africa has just started building fiber. Mr. Speaker, the current fiber holding in the entire country, Ghana today, if you put all of our fiber holding, is slightly under 7,000 kilometers of fiber. Mr. Speaker, of that 7,000 kilometers of fiber, 5,780 kilometers were constructed between 2012 and 2016. So how then do you tell me that President Akufo Addo will be telling the truth if he comes to tell these people here, comes to tell us in this house that his government has built more fiber? Mr. Speaker, I told you I didn't even want to go into private ones. Because if I was to go into private ones, Mr. Speaker, under the NDC, Google. Let me wrap up. Mr. Speaker, Google Ghana. Mr. Speaker, Google Ghana. And I hold in my hands evidence.
Yes.
On the 3rd of October 2015,
Show it to the camera.
Google Ghana launched a 1,200 kilometer fiber project under the NDC administration. Mr. Speaker, Messrs. Internet Solutions,
That's right.
under the NDC administration.
Camera.
Again, Mr. Speaker, here it is. Evidence, no they lie. We speak with facts. We don't chew ballot papers. Mr. Speaker, $15 million metro fiber by Messrs. Internet Solutions. Mr. Speaker, I can go on and on. We have built 119 LTE base stations. Mr. Speaker, and in wrapping up, when the national security operatives are misbehaving on the orders of persons in government and they are carrying big Gota phones, the infrastructure that backs that Gota phone is the LTE base stations built by the NDC under John Dramani Mahama, 119 base stations.
Thank you very much.
What have you done
George,
for that sector?
Honorable Sam
Mr.
George,
Speaker, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.